Do you love rocking around the Christmas tree? We do.
It's proper lush, it is. And I can't help it. I loves everything about Christmas, I do.
The tea-towelled heads of eager young shepherds at the school play.
Mulled wine warming on the stove.
Shiny baubles.
Shiny people.
Jesus. So, get your baubles out, pour a nice warm glass of mulled wine.
And get ready to shine together with Jesus for this very special episode of the most wonderful time of the year.
How do you like to celebrate Christmas? In my family, we love to decorate our home with beautiful sights and smells to remind us that the beauty of Jesus is all around us.
And in my house, the Christmas music is on from July sometimes, if truth be told. I just love filling the air with sounds of celebration any chance I get. Top it off with a Bailey's hot chocolate and my best pal Jesus, and it's party central.
It brings us so much joy to know that Jesus is for life, not just for Christmas. Each and every day in his house is one of celebration.
And I couldn't agree more. And you know what? It's so amazing to see how different people celebrate the same occasion, not only across the world, but within the same cities, towns, villages, and even streets. There's so much variety, yet so much similarity all at the same time, like different festive notes that create one epic Christmas song.
I mean, perhaps you have your own special family traditions that have been passed down through the generations. Perhaps they're things that few know about. Perhaps it was something that just happened once, but has been carved into the sweetest of memories and engraved into your heart forevermore.
Slate 17, take 3.
Snap. So my most memorable Christmas was back in Christmas 2013. It was the year I just turned 23, and that particular year I'd moved out to live very far from Wales, in Manila, in the Philippines. And it was at a time, couldn't have picked a worse time to move away from home, where my mental health was at the lowest point that it had ever been. And to experience something so dire and so despairing, so far away from home, was atrocious. We've got a saying or a word here in Wales. It's called hiraeth. There's no translatable alternative in English, but the closest you could come up with is like a lovesick, homesick longing, really deep within you for home, for Wales. And in Welsh we say, ma hiraeth arna I, like hiraeth is on me. So it's that real physical thing. And so I didn't have much money, but I pulled everything I had into getting a flight home. And on the 21st of December, I arrived home. Nobody knew, save for 2 friends, 2 of the boys from school who came to greet me, take me home, knocked on my parents' door at midnight and presented them with a gift, which was me. And we proceeded to stay up and talk into the small hours, and my parents were absolutely overjoyed. And it was a time where my family had been separated for various reasons. Close family members of mine had been away and also came back at the same time by just coincidence. But it just goes to show that there's nothing like home, and there's nothing like family. It's something you can't buy. All right, I bought the ticket and it cost me all that I had. But there's nothing like home. And, you know, Jesus is your home. God is your home. So whether or not you have the glitz and glamour of a typical Christmas with all the commercialised stuff, it's about family. It's about togetherness. And there is nothing more memorable than that moment of knocking on the door and being embraced by my father and being touched and kissed by my mother, because there's no place like home at a Christmas time.
You see, there is no place like home when you need to rest and rejuvenate, when you need to rejoice. Jesus is home. He has been and he always will be. As the old carol goes, God rest you, merry gentlemen. Rest in this sense means to keep, to cause, to continue, or to remain.
Oh, that it would truly be a Christmas at home, with home and in home like no other, where we allow the sweetness of the sweetest, our Lord Jesus, to make us merry with glad tidings, happy news of comfort and of joy. And so Faith, our lovely friend Denise, and I took to the streets of our hometown to sing and declare exactly that.
So we know that Christmas celebrations look, feel, taste and smell different to different people. And while we love and respect and enjoy some of those differences, I can't help but get to thinking about how many followers of Jesus demonise many aspects of the season. Having a Christmas tree in your house, for example, pagan, don't even go there.
Santa with the letters rearranged spells Satan.
Not to mention the shallow commercialisation of Christmas. And the list goes on and on.
Now look, it's important to recognise that there are indeed many aspects of Christmas time that many Christians and non-Christians alike have grown to know and love, which actually found some of their beginnings in pagan traditions, celebrations and concepts.
Over the years, and especially in the modern day, many of these ideas have now morphed into all sorts of different commercialised phrases, festive fads and plastic paraphernalia.
Some even do say that Christmas was a pagan holiday long before it was adopted and transformed by the church, and way before it became a money-making method for businesses.
Pause, like literally pause the video if you have to. Take a sip of tea.
Swish that mulled wine.
Explore. Because seriously, there would have been a time in my Christian walk where what Katie just said would have offended me to no end. I would have felt the need to justify the Christian Christmas that I had always known and cherished. But you know what? God doesn't need us to justify the birth of Jesus, and his word doesn't really indicate how and when we should celebrate it, if indeed we should celebrate it at all.
But fear not, folks. We're not going to end the festivities there. Oh, no. Our God is a happy and joyful God. He loves to celebrate, and so do his kids. The Bible is rich and overflowing with what we like to call party time scriptures.
So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it to the glory of God. Cheers!
This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it.
Cheers! And you know what? Long before the midwinter celebrations were enjoyed by ancient cultures and many cultures still to this day,
Long before trees were worshipped by sunbathing village folk or hugged by a happy hippie,
the sun, the earth, every tree and plant, in fact all of creation and the heavenlies and the entire cosmos was birthed by and for and through our Creator.
see, heaven and the highest heavens, the earth and all that is in it belong to the Lord your God. Deuteronomy 10:14.
So if Christmas was pagan before it was Christian, likewise was it, and always has and will be God's before it was anyone's. He kind of predates anything, at any time, anywhere. It's his thing. Anything without him isn't the real thing. It's counterfeit. So include him, because he's included you.
So folks, instead of mindlessly writing off what doesn't fit our neatly packaged theory-weary idea of Christianity, or instead of being offended by lights and trees and lights on trees, or a jolly man clad in red who likes to leave gifts for children under said trees, let us rejoice and redeem every good thing back to its original design, to radiate and glorify, magnify and celebrate the good Father that we love and the dazzling Son that shone the way to him, Jesus.
One of the greatest gifts I have ever received from God was a complete dream come true, my very own choir. I'd always dreamt of putting on beautiful productions for and with the community to glorify my first and true love, Jesus.
There is something absolutely heavenly about the sound of many voices coming together as one to sing of God's goodness and love. The voices of a choir at Christmas time in particular ring like a bell throughout the land, announcing the birth of peace and good cheer.
So catch in for a moment, open your heart and listen to this exquisite song from our archives by my lovely Joshua Voice Choir entitled Christmas Bells.
Ring Christmas bells, ring them loud with a message bringing peace on the earth, tidings of good cheer. Come carolers, come and join with the angels singing joy to the world. Christmas time is here again. Children, gather around and listen. You'll hear the sound of angels filling the sky, sailing everywhere. Christmas time is here. Ring Christmas bells, ring them loud with a message bringing peace on the earth, tidings of good cheer. Come carolers, come and join with the angels singing joy to the world. Christmas time is here again.
So we feasted on the festive delicacies of music, mulled wine, hearty grub and a whole lot of Jesus. And now it's time to have another little sit down and a little ponder about the wonder of Christmas.
Now, I don't know about you, but I like my wine rich and flavoursome, not diluted and watery. Don't ask me how, but somehow we've watered down the story of how the new wine, Jesus, came into the world into a simple nativity scene in a children's story.
It's become so meek and so mild that it's misplaced the marvel of the miracle. Yes, I know that Jesus humbly came into the world via a virgin who gave birth in a stable, but he came into the world via a virgin who gave birth in a stable. I mean, have you ever really thought about the reality of that scene? Like, actually imagined it? It's nuts, man.
And I've heard it said that God is Welsh, right? But I'm really starting to question that, if I'm honest with you. The thing is, you see, though we are absolutely positively riddled with sheep, you would be hard-pressed to find 3 wise men.
Let alone a virgin.
True.
Bum.
But seriously though, all jokes aside, I love all the scriptures, Christmas plays and carols that describe these first moments in Jesus' early life. My favourite is Silent Night, in German. I don't know why, but there's just something about it. Now that I think about it, how silent was this supposedly silent night? I've had 3 kids and I can tell you this for nothing. It was anything but silent. It was a mess, an absolute mess. My husband was a mess. My house is still a mess. You see where I'm going with this? It was messy.
Yet, in and amongst the mess, we find Messiah.
In the midst of the uproar, we hear the lions roar.
So, if you want to carry on thinking it was all calm and still, I'm okay with that. It's fine. But in case we've got your cogs turning, here's another take on that not-so-silent night.
The not-so-silent night when a holy, hallowed light, all glowing, all-knowing, came round yon virgin who bore a babe birthed straight from the womb of heaven's glade, born to invade, rule, reign and save. The not-so-silent night, the end of death's dark grave. The not-so-silent night, humble shepherds were struck with fright. Quaking and shaking, an army of angels celebrating, news reverberating of the birth of the King. The not-so-silent night, the end of death's dark sting. The not-so-silent night, when God's great and eternal light shone, so radiantly beamed throughout the heavenlies, fulfilled prophecies going back centuries. The not-so-silent night, the birth of victory. So, do you see how loud our King can be? The sound of shackles as we break free, nations fall into their knees, hands nailed to a tree, all for you and me. Silence? Really? I don't think so. My Jesus caused uproar even before his first breath was drawn, was despised and hunted from that very first morn. The not-so-silent night, the Saviour of the world was born.
Let that simmer a while. How it must have felt, how it must have sounded, how all of heaven would have erupted at the unfolding of centuries of prophecy and the beating heart of God's own Son, Jesus.
The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of darkness, a light has dawned. You've enlarged the nation and increased their joy. They rejoice before you as people rejoice at the harvest. As warriors rejoice when dividing plunder. You have shattered the yoke that burdens them, the bar across their shoulders, the rod of their oppressor. For to us a child is born, and to us a son is given, and the government will be on his shoulders. And he will be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom forever.
How utterly awe-strikingly amazing was it that in the messiness of an animal shack, the words of the prophets began to come to pass. With a dream in one hand and all that they were able to carry in the other, and with the enemy already picking up on the scent of God's victory, the most precious gift the world has ever received, before or since, was given.
God incarnate.
God with skin on, Emmanuel.
God with us.
With thankful heart and joyful mind, the shepherd
is with us. God always has been with us. He promises never to leave or forsake us and dwells in us.
Makes his home in us.
So, what's the remedy to hiraeth, to that feeling of lovesick homesickness that I mentioned earlier?
Friends, it's simply to go home. Merry Christmas to you and yours.
Nadolig llawen i chi gyd, from all of us here at the Worship Effect. So the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, blessing us with parables and puzzles. Join us next time as we journey into the wonderful world of storytelling with the original storyteller himself.